In this video, we're going to talk about amphibians. So if we take a look at our phylogenetic tree, you can see the amphibians here. And if we kind of work our way back, we can see that they are deuterostomes. And if we work our way back, we can see that they have 4 limbs, they have lungs, they have a jaw. They are in the subphylum Vertebrata because they have a vertebral column. They are chordates, and they are deuterostomes. It is believed that amphibians evolved about 400 million years ago. They believe that they evolved from freshwater fishes, and there is a fossil that was, a paper was published about it in 2006, and the name of this kind of fossil or extinct species is the Tiktaalik rosei. And it's a fossil of a fish that was tetrapod-like. So tetrapod means that it had essentially 4 kind of appendages to it. And you can kind of see that in this top picture here. You can see that the fins basically have like little limb bones in them. So it's believed that this fossil or this species is likely one of many evolutionary links between fish and amphibians. Some general characteristics about amphibians. They are vertebrates, so they are in that subphylum Vertebrata. They are tetrapods. Tetra means 4, and pod means foot. So they have 4, in this case, limbs, but 4 feet. They are terrestrial, but they have to live near water, so they're kind of limited as to where they can live. The name amphibian actually translates to dual life or 2 lives. And there's kind of like 2 different reasons for getting this name of dual life. And the first reason is that amphibians metamorphosize from juvenile to the adult stages. And so this picture over here, you might be familiar with frog development, where they start out as a tadpole and then eventually change into their adult form as a frog. They are also dual in life because they have aquatic and terrestrial phases of their life cycle. So eggs have to be laid in the water. And for example, the tadpole has to live in the water, but then the frog lives on land. But once again, it's still tied to water, so it has to stay close to some body of water. Some additional general characteristics of amphibians. Their skin is moist and it's covered in a type of mucus. It's also permeable, and so they can absorb water through their skin. They can also exchange gases, and these are going to be gases needed for cellular respiration. So cellular respiration. So they need to be able to exchange things like carbon dioxide and oxygen. And this is so they can make ATP, which is energy. In addition to exchanging gas across their skin, some amphibians also have lungs and others have gills. But the majority of the gas exchange does happen across the skin, and the lungs and the gills are just some additional structures that help with that gas exchange. Amphibians are carnivorous, meaning that they eat other animals. Some have a sticky tongue that helps them to capture prey. That's something that you would see in frogs. So they have a tongue that would come out, and it's got like this little sticky end to it so that they could catch a fly. And they do have multiple small teeth in their mouths. They also have image-forming eyes. So these are fairly complex eyes. They can see fairly well, and they have color vision. They also have ears, and these ears are involved in communication. So if you've ever taken a walk at night, especially around a body of water, you've probably heard frogs and toads kind of croaking and giving off chirps and squeaks. And they can vocalize and they can hear each other. And it's how they communicate things like that they're ready to mate. So if we look at the taxonomy of amphibians, so remember that we're talking about chordates. So domain Eukarya, kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, these are all things that have applied to the other organisms that we've already talked about in this lesson. And then the subphylum Vertebrata includes things like amphibians, and the subphylum Vertebrata includes things like amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. So where we get kind of really specialization is at the class level here. So amphibians are in class Amphibia. They are in a subclass known as Lissamphibia. And then the orders are the kind of more specific types of amphibians. So we have order Urodela, which are tailed amphibians, and more commonly you know them as salamanders. Anura means tailless, so they don't have a tail, and this would be things like frogs and toads. And apoda means legless, so a means without, and poda means feet or legs. And these are called caecilians. So let's take a closer look at the order Urodela, which are the salamanders. So they are amphibians, they are tetrapods, and they do have tails. Most have gills, but some have lungs. They have internal fertilization, so that means that copulation has to occur. So the male has to deliver sperm into the female reproductive tract. And then they do lay their eggs in water, which is true of all amphibians. Order Anura includes frogs and toads. They have a body plan designed for jumping, so they have really well developed back legs, especially that are really muscular, that help them to jump and hop around. They have external fertilization, meaning that the female lays eggs and then the male comes along and produces sperm that swims through the water and then goes and fertilizes those eggs. The larvae stage of frogs and toads are tadpoles, and they are aquatic, and that they are the ones that hatch out of those eggs that are laid in the water, and then they go through metamorphosis in order to turn into the adult form. And then order Apoda are the caecilians, and I know we said that amphibians have 4 limbs, but these are actually legless, so they do not have 4 limbs. But this is likely due to a de-evolution, meaning that one of their ancestors probably had those 4 legs, and then for whatever reason, the presence of those legs went away during their evolutionary history. So now they look almost more like a snake or a worm, but they are an amphibian. They are aquatic, so they spend their whole life in the water, and they are typically burrowed in the sediment. They do have internal fertilization, so they have copulatory structures. So, the equivalent in humans would be a penis and a vagina. And so they have these copulatory structures so that the male can deliver sperm into the female reproductive tract. Most of them give birth to live young, but some of them lay eggs.